Welcome back to Total Freedom Radio with Rina Lynn, the show that's all about raising the bar of knowledge, healing hurting people, and spiritual warfare. And I'm excited about our program today, and I want to just stop and open it with prayer. Lord, thank you for this time together with my guest and the people that are watching. And Lord, we ask that your work be done no matter what is said in this program and that your glory would be had from it. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, today I have the author of the popular book Unsilenced. With her name is Nattolie Chilton, and I think you're going to find her story very compelling. I'm really excited to be able to interview her today. And Nattolie, welcome to the Total Freedom Show. Why don't you tell my guest who you are and why you're here?
Thank you, Rena. Um, why am I here? The Lord has placed me here. So I don't pursue these things. I don't pursue interviews. They just come as the Lord leads, and as I'm asked, and the Spirit confirms, I say yes. So I live in Alberta, Canada, and my name is Nattolie Chilton, and it was not always my Lord gave me this name in mid about 2008. He said, change your name. So I did. He called me to write a book in 2007. It took till 2014 to get started and 10 more years to finish this testimony. So I'm a speaker. What else am I? I'm a therapist. And my newest project is Survivors Unite Club to connect survivors with therapists and healing ministries, survivor led, like yours, Rena, around
There's
the
a
world.
lot of people out there that are healing or need healing, and I know that when we find someone whose story is close to ours, sometimes it helps. There's a lot of things that we may know within ourselves, but other people's opinions of us sometimes can color our opinion of us. And I've talked to a lot of people that's gone through that. So I just want to, I know that because of something in your past, you embraced a bad girl identity. So, what kept you trapped in that mindset so long, and what finally broke that cycle, Nattolie?
That was so ingrained. My mom was very badly abused and did not have therapy. And so she was just carrying the weight of the world, literally, and so much bitterness and anger, which I don't even think she was aware of. But I was this extremely alive child. And I know that as a mom, and when we're unhealed and there is a child full of life, every trigger gets pressed. So I know why she was so irritated, um, to the extreme. So basically, it was just never a good word. She never had a good word for me. It was always, what was wrong with you? Just, and just this directed, targeted rejection. And if it wasn't rejection, it was just pretending I wasn't there. Just literally ignore me. So,
I recognize that very well. Your book was rather hard to read. Some of it was triggering, some of it was just surprising. Very, very good read. Very, very
thank you.
prayer inspiring because there's a lot of people who go through some of these things, and the average person does not know it. So let me ask you a question here. Did you ever get with your mom and you guys have got it worked out? Because I know I tried that. And when my mom passed away, the hardest part was to know that would never be done.
Mm, you know, I walked out the door the day after graduation without saying goodbye, and I just left. And it was some years of just cutting off contact, zero contact, having children, and then reconnecting, and then she'd be the same, just cutting, sword in my heart. And then I'd have to set the only way I knew how to set a boundary was to cut off communication altogether. And it was literally a few decades of that, back and forth, until literally it wasn't until I was, let's see, I remember being 42 years old with my new God chosen husband, and just terror, still having terror that my mom was, she just said, I'm coming to see you. And I was like, oh, you're going to destroy my life. You're going to, because you know, just that childlike terror was still alive in me. I was only a year sober at that point. But getting to the point, um, in about let's see, when I was 49 years old, it was like time to forgive. So I went through a really deep process, and I wrote her a letter, and I told her all the things and all the ways, because I never had, that she'd hurt me. And I owned my own stuff, how I'd hurt her, because I was being fair. And I was as soft as I could be, but she literally felt destroyed when I told her all that. And it was a couple years of her just being totally bent out of shape, not knowing how to be, but we kept trying every few months. And every time I felt like picking up offense, I'd put it down. No, I forgive her. And then one day she did something really nice. And I remember literally it coming out of my mouth. She's so sweet. And that was the spirit that told me that I was completely healed. And never had I ever said my mother was sweet. And I was like, wow, that's you, Lord. Yeah, because
I
it
love
was,
that. Love that. I had to
mm,
learn too that with some people, the forgiveness came inside me, the relationship would never be restored. And that was a really difficult thing
yes.
for me. I've got a really good friend. She wrote a piece that I'm going to have her back on again, and we're going to talk about it. But she wrote a piece on unforgiveness and biblical forgiveness, and how with some people with
Mhm.
narcissistic personality disorders, other things, that you cannot have true biblical forgiveness. You have to let go and walk off. And you find the place within yourself to do the forgiving, but a true biblical forgiveness is to restore a relationship. So it sounds like you managed to do that, and I'm very, very glad for you, because not all of us have that opportunity. I wrote one of those letters to someone in my life a few years back, crickets. Learned really hard that it doesn't matter if you say it verbally, if you say it on paper, it's still ignored. So I had to learn that walk off, no contact, and it's difficult. It's very
Amen.
difficult. I know that you have
Amen.
spoke out a lot about things in your life, and I didn't mean to cut you off there. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Actually, my mom and I we're the best we've ever been. My sister, uh, we've been out of contact for 6 years because she finds it unforgivable that I address the truth.
Yes. Yes.
What can you do?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
I
that's
have this
okay.
statement that I make, and one of my characters makes quite often, is the truth isn't always pretty, but it's still the truth. And I have someone very close to me in my life that I would very much like to have back, but one of the statements I finally had to make to her is, "You would prefer a feel-good lie to a terrible truth, and I can't live there anymore." You at some point, the truth is the truth, and it doesn't always have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be comfortable, it doesn't have to be something that is what you would choose, but it is what it is. And I've met so
It is
many
what it
people that have
is.
really rough truths, and I have found as well, the average person who does not, or maybe I should say, has not experienced a story, they have a hard time hearing our truth. And therefore, if we tell it, we're automatically in that bad box. And I have a really good friend that she finally just told me, said, "Look, we have to tell our truth. If we don't, their narrative is the only one that's ever going to be heard." And so we
That's right.
just decided to tell our truth. We write it, we speak it, we counsel, we are doing a radio show. because truth must be told. And it's not told to batter someone else or to prove that you're right. It's because we matter too. And I had to learn that the hard way, that we matter too. In fact, I wrote a song about it that I just might play in this. I've got it queued up just in case, but we'll see, because I think it might apply to both of us a little bit. Um,
You
I know
should.
that you spoke about a lot of rough stuff in your life, and I know that you spoke very openly in your book about a lot of things. And I just have to tell you, I know how difficult that was, and so I just admire the fact that you were. But you've dealt with judgment, rejection, being labeled crazy. So I know for me, one of the hardest things was overcoming what other people had to say, their words, their label on me. So how did you deal with that?
Yes. Hmm. Ah, boy, that was, the loser identity. I remember the loser identity. One of my chapters in my book is natural born winner. And I did that for a reason, to counter that whole loser narrative. But I was such a winner from my in my childhood, but I could never feel that I was, because I was always getting beaten up no matter how good I was. But how did I overcome that? Part of it was looking at some of the good people in my life. And I would tell myself they would not be my friends if I was such a despicable loser that I think that I am. Um, it has been like that followed me, that even when I got with my husband in 2014. He is a super achiever champion, um, successful on pretty much every level financially, um, a dream man, basically, a dream situation. And even getting with him, that further amplified my loser um, identity, because I didn't take on his winningness as my own. So the enemy, Satan, had his claws in there, just like, wrestling, like Jacob wrestling with God. Satan was wrestling with me to just keep punching myself in the head and pushing myself down with my own words. So let's see. A big revelation came one day. First of all, I had I had so many echoing negative words in my mind that almost no matter what my husband would say, I would think he was rejecting me.
Mm.
And he would just say something neutrally. And it would be just like I would have this allergic reaction, like he's rejecting me. And then I was reading this book, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, and he was talking about the importance of being careful of what we view and the emotional content of it, because it's firing our neurology. So I was addicted to murder shows, which is death. And then I was feeling depressed all the time. Go figure. Right?
There can be a
And
spirit of
going to
rejection too.
that was totally there. So I guess I'm mixing the rejection with the loser, but they're totally connected.
Mhm.
And um, with the awakening that the Lord provided, He said, "You keep going down that pathway to the worst traumas in your life. You're the one walking down there to this stagnant, disgusting pond. You like cut it off." Like even at the very entry of the pathway to that moldy pond, turn around. And so I had to teach myself, stop, don't go there. You've went there 1,000 times. There's nothing good. And then the loser thing, mm, that just took more time. It took a long, long time. I mean, I think at the completion of my book after 10 years, I finally gave myself credit that I'm winning. I finished that book. I finished that mission. Um, yeah, and just counting the ways, I'm 14 years sober. 14 years sober. I'm winning by
I
God's
think you're
grace,
winning
right?
too, and I'm telling you, one of my overcoming things like that is I was the classic scapegoat. You know, everything weighed, and you took that on. And so I was the one who took on the responsibility for everybody's stuff. So for me, the hardest part was learning to talk about it, learning to tell the story, learn because other people need to hear it and do it. So when I finally got to that point where I realized, and it's exactly what you're talking about, is everybody else's label I had adopted as my label for me because if all these people are telling you you got to be right, right? So peeling off that label, and I had a counselor that had me write a list of accomplishments. And if your name had been on the top of that list, it'd have been great. But because my name was on the top of that list, it wasn't great. It was just stuff. So I wrote a song called "The Music of My Life," and if you'll indulge me a couple of minutes, I really wanna play this for you because I think you're gonna like it, but also we're not the only ones out there with a story, right? And so this is a
That's
big
right.
deal for me too. It's part of owning my talent, and I'm not good at that. So let me do that with for you guys. Let me share the music of my life with you. Born into a family that never wanted me. I had so many shackles. I never thought I'd be free. Then I found the answer I'd looked for all along. When I believed in me, my life became a song. Now peals of music are running through my mind. Words and notes all tangled till I write them down and then I finally found the courage to let them ring on out. I'm singing with freedom. I'm so happy I could shout. Suppression is over. My heart has been released. Boundless ambition, fear has all ceased. Come and take my hand and join your voice with mine. Choosing assurance will break the chains that bind. Now peals of music are running through my mind. Words and notes all tangled till I write them down and then I finally found the courage to let them ring out loud. I'm singing with freedom. I'm so happy I could shout. Why dance to a tune penned by someone else? The music of your life should be written by yourself. I said, why dance to a tune penned by someone else? The music of your life should be written by yourself. I said the music of your life, it should be written by yourself. Now, if you're out there and you've ever found yourself in a place where others were always deciding your life, maybe someone's words put a persona on you that you took up with no ability to even know who you really were or your own value. You didn't own your own worth. You didn't own your own talents or accomplishments. Instead, you let other people's voices and opinions determine who you were. Work through it because I can tell you on the backside, it's really nice. It's hard going through it, but I know, Natalie, that you had a lot of that shame. I had a lot of that shame. A lot of people have a lot of that shame. So, what did you? What caused you to break out of that shame and secrecy? Because keeping the secrets, to me, is what keeps the shame.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like the plug. It's the bond. It's the glue. Um, when I got into school, neurolinguistic school in 1998, I told one of the first secrets during its counseling school. So we were doing therapy all day. So I started to divulge some of my secrets. And that was the first time when I actually, said that I'd been paid for sex. That secret that I did tell my parents, mid-20s, but I'd never come out further than that. And I didn't feel heard or seen. And that's the important thing. We need to be seen and we need to be compassionately witnessed. Okay, so I realized that the secrets are bondage. It was very slow because I was tied up so tight in so many lies that I told myself, believing lies of others, and I was wrapped so tight. Um, so I started confessing, walking into a church, asking them to pray for me, telling people what was going on. So confession is huge. So when you find yourself doing things or you haven't shared the things that you've done, confess on a prayer line, contact a counselor, and start working through, because that is the only way. We need to speak the words out of our mouth and we need to be seen and heard.
I think so, and I
That's
think
my
so many
belief.
people were so afraid to tell the secrets, and different people have different levels of secrets. Families impose secrets because you number 1, especially if you're in the church like I was, you don't tell the family secrets because it makes the family look bad, it makes the church look bad, whatever. But you don't get past it until you do. But I know I found out when you start telling the secrets, again, that backlash towards you. So how were you received in that?
As I was started to tell the secrets, well, first of all, I told them to the Lord. I think I told my husband, whom I met in 2014. I was completely transparent with him about my past, probably too much. He didn't want to hear all that. And he would say, you wouldn't be who you are had you not went through those things. So he didn't put shame on me for those things, which was amazing, coming from where I've come from. And just that assurance that I had value, that I was valuable, no matter what. So I'm getting lost in this question. Could you repeat the question?
Well, let me just add to it a little bit. What is the turning point that you were able to realize that it's more dangerous to stay silent than to find your voice? Because you have a powerful voice. Your book's powerful. It's a tough read, but it's powerful. So you have to get to that place where you understand it is more damaging. It is more um damaging. I can't think of a better word than that. To stay silent and to tell the truth, and you cannot heal in silence. You literally have to. I think I had one counselor that said that you have to tell your story 1,000 times because the person who needs to hear it the most is you. Because I was still wrapped in the lies of other people imposed upon me, and my truth had been suppressed forever. So did I
Right?
make it worse, or did what's the danger of staying silent rather than finding your own voice?
Okay. First of all, it was God who motivated me to deal with all this. He gave me an image, this glass that everybody's seeing in the background. He said, my life is like a car accident, and I have all kinds of glass embedded in me. And you know how when somebody lives through an explosion, glass comes out for years.
Mm.
So writing the book was a process of actually me and the Lord in the secret place, in battle, writing the testimony, going into the pain, um, grieving, throbbing. I did a lot of that for years and years until 2022 alone, until I met warrior writers. Then I had some company and some prayer, which I'd recommend. But,
Yes.
you know, my book is in honor of my brother. He was a big motivator for me because he told my parents of the pedophiles that had harmed him. They kept it a secret. They didn't prosecute. I did this for my brother, actually, for Eric in the book, who's like walking with me. So Eric on one side, Jesus on the other, Holy Spirit inside. And we're just walking through. And every secret I wrote out, the pain was detoxified. More of myself. It was like a reintegration of, I had amnesia of many things.
Mhm.
I hadn't remembered it until I was meditating for a decade. That meditation brought things to the surface, and I had all kinds of memories. I completely didn't see God's perspective, the truth. I was skewed in my perception, and it was absolutely appalling in one spot in particular when I realized the truth of what had happened there. I never knew. I
We
never
have
knew.
got
And
2 minutes left, and I wanna have you back next week and finish this discussion because 'cause we're getting in some really good stuff here, but, in that about a minute and a
thank
half
you.
now, do you see that your story is your ministry now?
100%. 100%. I don't hurt anymore. I have compassion, and it is my honor and my joy. It's so satisfying to be able to hear people's secrets, to extend compassion and give them grace and hold that space of safety. So I wouldn't change anything for the outcome that I now have. And I don't hurt anymore, as I said. And that's a miracle because I throbbed my whole life. My pain body, up the pain of everything. And it's God took it all away.
I tell you, I love healing people. I love healing people's stories. I love seeing how people have overcome what the enemy has imposed upon us and what we have imposed upon ourselves or what the people around us have imposed. And it's so liberating. And I'm really excited when I'm around a healing person. Natalie, we're going to have to wrap this up because I got a 30-minute show, but I will see you next week. Thank you so much for coming on Total Freedom Radio.
Thank you for having me.